The HOA called the cops on my trucks. Then their own paperwork proved the road was mine. The HOA called the police to stop my trucks on a road they claimed to control. Vanessa Langford stood beside the cruisers looking completely certain she had finally won. She had signs. She had HOA letters. She had a polished color map. She had 2 police officers standing between my business and the county highway. What she did not have was the road. And the mistake that eventually ended her presidency had been sitting in my fireproof cabinet for 6 years. "Sir, I need those trucks shut down." The officer's voice cut through the diesel rumble at 5:58 that morning. 3 loaded dump trucks sat nose to tail on the asphalt, amber lights flashing against the gray dawn. 2 patrol cruisers were angled across the entrance, their red and blue lights washing over chrome grills, wet pavement, and the decorative green monument that read Willow Ridge West entrance. My lead driver, Travis, leaned out his window. "Ethan, what the hell is going on?" "I'm finding out. My name is Ethan Caldwell. I'm 46 years old, and I own Caldwell Earthworks, a hauling and excavation company I built from 1 used dump truck, 1 leaking skid steer, and more debt than I care to remember. Mornings usually started before sunrise. Coffee, diesel, hydraulic oil, phone calls. That morning started with police lights. Vanessa Langford stood beside the nearest cruiser in a charcoal coat, holding a leather folder against her chest. Her blonde hair looked untouched by the mist. Her expression was calm, polished, almost rehearsed. "There he is," she told the officer. "That's the owner." The officer turned. "Mr. Caldwell?" "Yes. We received a complaint about unauthorized commercial vehicles using this roadway." Vanessa stepped closer. "Not using it. Trespassing on it." I looked at her. Behind Vanessa, one of the HOA cameras blinked red from a black pole near the drainage ditch. My drainage ditch. My shoulder. My road. I kept my voice even. "Those trucks leave from my property every morning, and they cross HOA-controlled infrastructure," Vanessa said. "He has been warned repeatedly." The officer looked from her to me. "For now, I need the vehicles stationary while we sort this out." I checked my watch. 6:03. Our first truck was supposed to be unloading 28 miles north before 7. A concrete crew was waiting on us. Every minute mattered. I turned toward Travis and dragged 1 finger across my throat. "Kill it." The first diesel shuddered and died. Then the second. Then the third. Air brakes released into the fog. Hisses. And suddenly everything was quiet except for the ticking of cooling engines. Vanessa smiled. Not a big smile. Just enough. That smile told me she had not called the police because she wanted clarification. She wanted witnesses. Fine. So did I? I looked at the officer. "Did Mrs. Langford tell you who owns this road?" Vanessa answered before he could. "The Willow Ridge HOA maintains operational control over this entrance." I kept my eyes on her. That wasn't what I asked. Her expression tightened. "Ethan, we have been through this." Then one more time shouldn't hurt. I nodded toward the cruisers, the trucks, the monument, and the camera behind her. "Are you officially telling these officers that Willow Ridge owns this road?" Vanessa gave a short laugh. "Absolutely." There it was. 1 word. Clear enough for both officers to hear. Clear enough that I didn't need to argue. I pulled out my phone. Vanessa folded her arms. "Calling your attorney?" "No." Rachel answered from my office on the 3rd ring. Her voice was thick with sleep. "Ethan, morning. I need you to go into my office and open the fireproof cabinet behind the desk." A pause. "Okay." 2nd drawer. Black property case. Another pause. "I found it. Bring it to the west entrance." "What's in it?" I looked past the police lights toward the road disappearing into the morning fog. 6 years of deeds. Surveys. Invoices. Easement records. And 1 certified HOA letter Willow Ridge had probably forgotten ever existed. "Just paperwork," I said. Then I hung up. Vanessa smiled again. Too bad for her. Receipts don't get emotional. 6 years earlier, nobody at Willow Ridge wanted that road. I did. The first time I drove down it, rainwater filled potholes deep enough to hide half my work boot. Weeds pushed through broken asphalt. The west ditch had collapsed. An old steel culvert was packed with mud, leaves, branches, and enough stagnant water to breed mosquitoes by the millions. The property itself was 14 acres behind Willow Ridge, open ground, an aging metal workshop, and enough space for equipment that I wouldn't have to listen to neighbors complain about backup alarms. What interested me most, though, was the road. My realtor parked beside a rusted steel gate near the county highway and handed me a recorded plat. This comes with the property. I looked at the narrow strip running from the highway toward the acreage. The whole road. The parcel under it. That changed everything. Willow Ridge had a recorded ingress and egress easement across part of the road so residents could reach the county highway. They had the legal right to pass through. They did not own what they crossed. The previous owner was an 80-year-old man named Harold Pierce. Harold met me at the property after closing. He had white hair, thick forearms, and hands that looked permanently stained with grease. He stood beside the old steel gate and handed me a brass key. "My father hung that gate in '79, he said. The key felt heavy in my palm. "Still works? Depends how polite you are with it." I laughed. Then Harold looked toward the rooftops of Willow Ridge through the trees. "Keep your paperwork." "I always do." "Good." He pointed at the road. Everybody forgets who owns a road once they get used to driving on it. At the time, I thought it was just old man wisdom. Turns out it was a warning. Caldwell Earthworks was small then. One dump truck, a used excavator, a skid steer that leaked hydraulic fluid whenever the weather turned cold. I couldn't afford pretty. I needed functional. That first winter, 3 days of heavy rain washed out part of the shoulder near the subdivision entrance. Since Willow Ridge residents used that section every day, I called the HOA and suggested splitting the repair. Their answer arrived by certified mail. I still remembered the sentence, almost word for word. Willow Ridge Homeowners Association accepts no ownership, maintenance responsibility, or financial obligation for the privately owned Caldwell Road parcel. I read it twice. Then I laughed. Fine. If they wanted no responsibility, I could live with that. I hired a drainage crew for the culvert, brought in crushed limestone, rebuilt the shoulder, graded the ditch, patched the asphalt, and paid the entire bill myself. The next spring I improved another section. Then another. Every invoice went into a black property case. So did the deed, the plat, the recorded easement, the survey, the certified HOA letter. My father had spent 35 years running heavy equipment before his knees gave out. He taught me 2 things early. Grease a machine before it asks. And keep paperwork long after everyone else thinks it stopped matching. Steel wears out, he used to say. Paper remembers. Near the west ditch stood an old iron survey pin. A grader almost buried it one summer, so I cleaned the dirt away and painted the top yellow. Just enough to find it again. For years, nobody cared. Willow Ridge residents used their easement. My trucks used my road. Nobody confused access with ownership. Then Willow Ridge started expanding. Home prices climbed. New houses appeared. The HOA renovated the clubhouse, installed decorative streetlights, replaced mailbox posts, and landscaped the main entrance. Then Vanessa Langford became president. She was 52, articulate, organized, and very good at making overreach sound like management. Her campaign promised something called the Willow Ridge Renewal Plan. Within months, the place looked sharper. New paint, new lights, new landscaping. And then came Phase 2. 36 proposed homes on land east of the existing subdivision. A larger clubhouse, a second pool, and, according to the glossy development rendering Vanessa brought to my workshop one Tuesday afternoon, a future West Mobility Corridor. That mobility corridor ran directly over my road. She arrived in a white SUV carrying 2 coffees. That should have warned me. People rarely bring you free coffee unless they want something expensive. I was replacing a hydraulic hose on my excavator when she unfolded the rendering across the hood of my pickup. "This expansion will be good for everyone," she said. I tapped the drawing. "What's this?" "Our improved west entrance." "No." She smiled. "I haven't made the proposal yet. You drew a boulevard over my property. I'm saving us time." Her smile tightened. Then came the pitch. Willow Ridge would pave the entire road, improve drainage, add landscaping, install lighting, take over maintenance. She called it a partnership. What she meant was control. When I still refused, she offered to buy the road parcel. I asked her number. She slid a printed offer across the hood. I read it once, then handed it back. "That doesn't replace the access my business would lose. You would obviously retain use." I looked at her. "Retain?" "Yes." "You mean Willow Ridge would buy my road and then allow me to keep using it?" She hesitated. "Just a fraction." That was enough. No sale. Vanessa closed the portfolio. The friendliness disappeared. "You may want to reconsider. Development changes things. So do deeds." She left with the second coffee still sitting on my hood. 9 days later, I came back from a grading job and found two contractors pouring concrete into my shoulder. Steel posts lay in the grass. A polished green sign rested against their trailer. Willow Ridge West Entrance. I shut off my pickup and walked over. The sour smell of wet concrete mixed with hot asphalt. Who authorized this? Vanessa's white SUV rolled up behind me. She stepped out holding a clipboard. The board. I pointed toward the fresh footing. Stop. One contractor looked at Vanessa, then at me. Who owns this shoulder? I do. Vanessa sighed. Ethan, residents have used this entrance for years. They have an easement. Exactly. No, not exactly. I stepped closer. An easement lets them cross my property. It does not let you build on it. For the first time, her smile tightened. 3 days later, the contractors came back. By Friday, the monument was finished. I photographed the posts, measured their distance from the ditch, and emailed Vanessa a copy of the plat. No answer. The next week, landscapers planted ornamental grass around the base. Then irrigation tubing appeared. Then 2 low-voltage lights. Then a camera pole. Each addition pushed the HOA footprint farther across my shoulder. I documented everything. Vanessa kept building. One afternoon, Travis walked into my shop with a glossy real estate flyer. You seen this? He dropped it beside my wrench set. Across the front was a photo of Willow Ridge at sunset. At the bottom, beneath a row of expensive-looking houses, were the words, 2 convenient community access points. The photo showed my road, my asphalt, my drainage work. Their sign. Travis looked at me. You charging them rent? Apparently, I'm providing amenities now. The joke lasted about 2 weeks. Then the first letter arrived. Commercial traffic complaint. The second cited excessive noise. The third accused my trucks of damaging community-maintained pavement. That phrase made me stop. Community-maintained. I pulled one of my resurfacing invoices from the black case and laid it beside the notice. Same road. Very different story. I responded in writing. The road parcel was privately owned. My business vehicles were accessing my property. The HOA's easement did not grant authority over my operations. Vanessa sent another notice. Then another. Soon a 15-mile-per-hour sign appeared with the Willow Ridge logo at the bottom. I removed it and leaned it against their monument. The next morning, it was back. 2 days later, a camera was installed near the ditch. Then came the envelope that made Vanessa's intention impossible to misunderstand. Heavy commercial vehicles prohibited. $500 violation per occurrence. I walked outside with the letter still in my hand. A loaded dump truck rolled toward me, tires humming across pavement I had paid to repair. Vanessa was beside her SUV near the entrance. I held up the notice. You know you can't regulate my trucks on my property. She crossed her arms. We regulate traffic entering Willow Ridge. My trucks aren't entering Willow Ridge. They're using our west entrance. I looked down at the asphalt. You mean my road? Her expression went cold. You're making this unnecessarily difficult. No, Vanessa. The boundary is doing that. She stared at me for a moment, then opened her SUV door. I've tried handling this privately. The door slammed. 11 days later, before sunrise, she called the police. By the time Rachel arrived with the black property case, Vanessa had already told the officers her version twice. She called my trucks a safety threat. She called my business unauthorized. And every time she described the road, she called it HOA property. Officer Daniel Reeves listened without taking sides. His partner stood beside a cruiser with a tablet, checking county records. Rachel handed me the case. Everything okay? Not yet. I opened it on the hood of my pickup. The hinges clicked. Vanessa glanced over. I pulled out the deed and recorded plat. Officer Reeves stepped closer. This shows you own the parcel? Yes. Vanessa immediately raised her folder. We have maps too. Of course she did. Her map was cleaner than mine. Color-coded streets. Lot numbers. Willow Ridge logo in the corner. The west entrance shaded green. It looked official, but it had no recorder stamp. No instrument number. No legal description. It was not a deed. It was artwork. Reeves compared both documents. Then his partner turned the county GIS overlay toward him. That complicated things. The narrow road parcel was layered beneath an older subdivision boundary, and at that scale the lines nearly disappeared into each other. Reeves frowned. I'm not determining title from this. Vanessa pointed toward my trucks. But you cannot allow continued trespassing while ownership is disputed. I checked my watch. 6:31. My phone rang. The concrete superintendent. You rolling? We're delayed. How long? I don't know. A pause. I can hold 20 minutes. Reeves walked toward the trucks. For now, keep them stationary while we finish the complaint and make sure there's no immediate traffic issue. Reasonable. Also expensive. At 6:47, Travis climbed down from his cab. At 6:52, the superintendent called again. At 7:01, he stopped waiting. We're moving the poor, Ethan. I stared at the dark screen after the call ended. That one delay meant idle labor, equipment costs, and a rescheduling charge. Vanessa stood near her SUV pretending not to watch me. She didn't need to smile. I knew what she thought had happened. Reeves returned my documents. This appears to be a civil property dispute. I'm not citing you for trespass based on what I have. Vanessa's head snapped toward him. But the commercial restriction. Ma'am, HOA rules are not something I enforce. That wiped away part of her victory. Not enough. My trucks were finally free to move. But the job was already gone for the morning. That afternoon, the client called. If access to your yard is going to be a recurring problem, Ethan, I need another hauler. It won't be. You sure? I looked through my office window toward the road. Yes. I sounded more certain than I felt. At 4:18, an email arrived from Willow Ridge. Vanessa had sent it to the entire community. Commercial trucking successfully removed from Willow Ridge property. She praised the board for protecting residents and restoring control over the west entrance. I read it once. Then again, my anger cooled with every sentence. Because Vanessa had done something no argument beside a police cruiser could accomplish. She had put her ownership claim in writing. I printed the email. The printer hummed while warm paper slid into the tray. Then I opened the black case and placed Vanessa's message behind the old certified HOA letter. One document said, privately owned Caldwell Road parcel. The other said, Willow Ridge property. Same association. Same road. Two completely different stories. I closed the case. Vanessa thought she had documented her victory. What she had really documented was the beginning of mine. That night, rain tapped against the metal roof of my workshop. The black property case sat open beneath a fluorescent light. My missed job was rescheduled for Thursday, but the client texted me. Need confirmation this access issue is resolved. That tightened something in my stomach. Losing one morning hurt. Losing a regular client would hurt payroll. That changed the stakes. At 8:14, I called Martin Keene. Martin was a licensed surveyor who had worked rural parcels around the county for almost 30 years. You still answer after 8? I asked. For people who pay invoices. I need a boundary verified. How soon? Yesterday. He laughed. Then I gave him the parcel number. The laughter stopped. I know that road. You surveyed it? Not originally. But I know the plat. We met at the county records office the next morning. The place smelled like old carpet and burnt coffee. Martin traced the legal description with one finger. There. The recorded easement was clear. Willow Ridge residents had ingress and egress across a defined strip of my parcel. Access. Not ownership. Not regulatory authority. Not the right to install structures. Not the right to control my business traffic. Martin slid the plat toward me. Your deed carries the road parcel separately from the acreage, but it's still yours. I handed him Vanessa's email. He read it. Then the old HOA letter. His eyebrows lifted. They didn't want ownership when the culvert needed money. Apparently, ownership became more attractive after I fixed it. We drove back to the west entrance. The rain had stopped. The ditch was dark and wet. Martin walked slowly along the shoulder with the old plat in his hand. Then he stopped. Should be around here. He scraped mud away with his boot. Nothing. Then I remembered. Wait. I crouched beside the ditch and pulled weeds away from packed soil. A dull yellow spot appeared. I dug around it with my fingers. Iron. The old survey pin. The same one I had painted years earlier. Martin knelt beside me and smiled. Well, hello. That little yellow mark had not moved. The HOA monument had. Martin set his receiver over the pin. 20 minutes later, he looked toward Vanessa's landscaping. Ethan. What? That monument crosses your boundary. He pointed farther down. So does the irrigation line. And the camera? He checked another reading. Outside the easement. The anger disappeared from me. Not because the problem was smaller. Because now it had measurements. Coordinates. Proof. I called my attorney, Claire Donovan, from the shoulder. After I explained everything, she said one thing first. Do not remove anything yourself. I wasn't planning to. Good. Document first. Let them explain later. I looked at Martin. How much of this can you mark? All of it. Every foot. If that's what you want. I watched the HOA camera blinking above us. Yes. Martin opened his truck and pulled out a bundle of bright orange flags. How visible. I smiled. Make it impossible to misunderstand. Monday morning, Willow Ridge woke up to orange. Dozens of flags started near the county highway and followed the boundary in a bright line through the grass, along the drainage ditch, past the camera pole, and straight across the landscaped entrance Vanessa had spent months calling HOA property. Martin arrived before sunrise. By 6:30, his receiver was chirping in the cold air while he drove another marker into the soil. Thunk. I stood beside my pickup drinking coffee. Still matching the recorded plat? Within tolerance. He pointed toward the monument. The dirt hasn't moved, Ethan. Their stuff did. That was the whole argument in 9 words. At 7:42, Vanessa arrived. Her white SUV stopped beside the monument. She stepped out wearing dark slacks, a cream coat, and an expression that told me breakfast had just been canceled. What is this? Martin kept working. I took another sip. Morning, Vanessa. She pointed at the flags. Why are these all over our entrance? Our entrance. Her eyes narrowed. You know what I mean. I think that's what we're establishing. She marched toward Martin. Who authorized this survey? He glanced at me. The property owner. Vanessa started photographing everything. The flags. Martin. His equipment. My truck. Me. Then she noticed one orange marker inside the ornamental grass around the HOA monument. Her face changed. This is ridiculous. Martin checked his receiver. No, ma'am. It's coordinates. Vanessa made a call. 15 minutes later, an HOA maintenance cart rolled toward us. The worker looked uncomfortable before he even stopped. Vanessa pointed toward the flags. Remove those from community property. Martin lowered his receiver. Those are active survey markers. They're unauthorized obstructions. The worker looked at me. I said nothing. Then he pulled the first flag. Orange plastic slid from the wet soil. He tossed it into the cart. Then another. And another. I took out my phone. Record. Vanessa saw me. Go ahead, Ethan. So I did. I recorded the worker removing markers while Vanessa directed him. No shouting. No threats. Just evidence. By 9:10, the video was in Claire's inbox. At 10:03, she called me. Don't touch anything they installed. I haven't. Don't move their signs. Don't disconnect the camera. Don't give Vanessa anything she can call retaliation. What are you doing? Giving everyone a reason to preserve records. That afternoon, Claire sent formal preservation notices to the HOA, its management company, and its council. Emails, board minutes, work orders, contractor invoices, photographs, internal communications, anything connected to the west entrance. Martin replaced the disturbed markers and finished his survey. The final drawing was worse for Willow Ridge than I expected. The commercial restriction sign sat entirely on my property. The camera pole stood outside the access easement. Part of the irrigation system crossed my parcel, and the decorative monument extended across the boundary. Then Claire found the money trail. HOA invoices showed association funds had paid for the monument. Landscaping, irrigation, camera installation, traffic signage, all during Vanessa's presidency. That evening, Willow Ridge residents received another email. Vanessa called the survey an aggressive attempt to seize established community property. Then she announced an emergency board meeting for Thursday. I forwarded the email to Claire. Her reply came 30 seconds later. Let her talk first. On Wednesday, Martin brought a poster-sized survey to my workshop. Green marked Willow Ridge property. Yellow marked the recorded access easement. Red marked mine. The road ran through red. So did several things Vanessa had installed. I rolled the map carefully. Then I went to the wall above my workbench. Harold's old brass key still hung on a bent nail. I took it down and turned it in my hand. Everybody forgets who owns a road once they get used to driving on it. He had been right. Thursday night, Vanessa gave us exactly what Claire wanted. A microphone. The Willow Ridge clubhouse was packed before 7. Every folding chair was occupied. Residents stood along the walls. The room smelled like lemon cleaner, burnt coffee, and damp coats. I sat near the aisle with the black property case at my feet. Martin stood beside the rolled survey. Claire carried one thin folder. Vanessa had an entire table covered in paper. That difference made me smile. At 7:04, she tapped the microphone. This meeting concerns an aggressive attempt by Mr. Ethan Caldwell to claim property that has functioned as part of Willow Ridge for years. Nobody interrupted, especially me. Vanessa projected her subdivision map onto the wall. Green streets, green entrance, green boundary shading. Everything looked official unless you knew what was missing. A recorder stamp, an instrument number, a legal description. This west entrance has been maintained and controlled by the association, she continued. Mr. Caldwell's commercial operation has created safety concerns, road deterioration, and unnecessary conflict. Claire leaned toward me. Let her finish. Vanessa did. She described my orange flags as intimidation. She called the survey a land grab. Then she repeated the phrase Claire had been waiting for. HOA-controlled property. When Vanessa finally sat down, the room went quiet. I stood. I'm not going to argue with your map. Her eyebrows lifted. Good. I brought the man who measured the land. Martin walked forward. He unrolled the survey and clipped it over Vanessa's projected image. Red, yellow, green. The room changed instantly. Martin pointed at the red strip. This is the Caldwell Road parcel according to the recorded plat and current field survey. His finger moved to yellow. This is Willow Ridge's recorded ingress and egress easement. A resident raised his hand. So the HOA owns the yellow part? No, Martin said. The association has the right to use that defined area for access. Ownership remains with Mr. Caldwell. Whispers spread across the room. Vanessa stood. Our legal documents show community control. Claire opened her folder. Which legal document? Vanessa hesitated. Claire placed the old HOA letter on the table. Then Vanessa's recent email beside it. One said privately owned Caldwell Road parcel. The other said Willow Ridge property. Same association. Same road. The vice president picked up the first letter. When was this sent? 6 years ago, Claire said. By us. By the association. He looked at Vanessa. Did ownership change afterward? Silence. Claire slid forward the deed and certified easement record. No recorded transfer has been identified. Martin pointed back at the survey. Then came the physical evidence. The commercial restriction sign is here. Red. The camera pole is here. Red. This irrigation section crosses here. Red again. And part of the entrance monument extends beyond the easement. Someone behind me muttered. You've got to be kidding. Vanessa grabbed the microphone. These were approved improvements benefiting every homeowner. That was when Claire opened the final section of her folder. Invoices. Camera installation. Landscaping. Irrigation. Monument construction. Traffic signage. The vice president stared at the totals. Association funds paid for all this? Vanessa's voice sharpened. The board authorized community improvements. A woman in the front row turned around. On land we don't own? The room erupted. Questions came from every direction. How much had been spent? Who approved the work? Why were residents told the road belonged to Willow Ridge? Had council reviewed any of it? Why had police been called? Why had the association threatened a business using its own property? Vanessa tapped the microphone. Everyone needs to calm down. Nobody did. Then an older man near the aisle asked the question that emptied the room of noise. Vanessa, is that the same map you gave the police when you reported Ethan's trucks? Vanessa stared at him, then at me, then at Claire. Yes. I heard the air conditioner humming overhead. Claire closed her folder. Martin stepped away from the map. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. Vanessa had spent months trying to prove she controlled my road. In less than an hour, she had proven something else. She had used HOA money, HOA authority, and a map that was not a deed to regulate property the association had already admitted it did not own. The meeting ended at 9:17. Vanessa's real problem started the next morning. At 8:06, Claire forwarded me an email from the HOA attorney. All enforcement notices against Caldwell Earthworks were suspended pending review. By lunchtime, the $500 violations had been withdrawn. I printed the email. Paper remembers. Over the next week, the board reviewed invoices, meeting minutes, contractor authorizations, and internal correspondence. More records surfaced. None helped Vanessa. The monument had been approved under her signature. So had the camera. The landscaping contract described the location as HOA-owned west entrance. The Phase 2 planning packet described my road as a future community access corridor. Then there were my losses. The missed concrete window, idle drivers, equipment downtime, Rescheduling costs. Claire organized everything into one clean demand package. We're not asking for punishment, she told me. We're asking them to correct what they did. That mattered to me. I had no interest in locking Willow Ridge residents out. Their easement was legitimate. Families had used that road long before Vanessa became president. Justice did not require punishing innocent neighbors. It required putting the boundary back where it belonged. 3 days later, a contractor arrived to remove the commercial vehicle sign. A cordless impact driver whined against the bolts. Metal rattled. Then the sign came down. The camera pole followed. When the little red indicator went dark, Travis stood beside me. Think they got enough footage? Probably 6 years of trucks minding their own business. The monument took longer. Because part of its footing crossed my parcel, Willow Ridge agreed to relocate the entire structure inside its actual boundary. An excavator arrived the next Monday. Its bucket curled beneath the stone section. Hydraulics hissed. Vanessa's white SUV appeared across the road. She parked. She never got out. Through the windshield, I could see her watching the monument lift from the ground. No clipboard, no folder, no audience, just consequences. The board held another meeting that week. I did not attend. Claire did. At 9:31 that night, Travis sent me a screenshot from the neighborhood group. Vanessa had been removed as HOA president while the financial review continued. For days later, she resigned from the board. No dramatic speech. No police. Just a short written notice. The HOA attorney contacted Claire the following week. They wanted to settle. The agreement was simple. Every road-related enforcement notice would be withdrawn. Willow Ridge would reimburse my documented losses from the police delay. Unauthorized structures would be removed or relocated. The disturbed shoulder would be repaired. And the HOA would record written acknowledgement that it possessed access rights over the defined easement only, not ownership and not regulatory control over my road parcel. I signed the agreement at the same workshop table where I had once read their certified refusal to help repair the road. Rain tapped softly against the roof. Beside my hand sat the old letter. They had not wanted the road when it needed money. They wanted control of it when it became useful. In the end, they received exactly what the recorded easement had promised all along. The right to pass through. Nothing more. The first morning after the settlement, I heard a sound I had not enjoyed in months. Air brakes. Hisses. A loaded dump truck rolled slowly past my workshop while sunrise burned orange across its mirrors. Travis tapped the horn twice. I raised my coffee. No cruisers. No Vanessa. No HOA folder. Just work. A contractor repaired the shoulder where the camera and signs had been installed. The drainage ditch was clean again. Martin removed the last orange survey stake that afternoon. I kept one. It still sits on a shelf in my workshop. Not because I needed a souvenir. Because that cheap plastic flag accomplished something Vanessa's expensive signs never could. It told the truth. Willow Ridge relocated its entrance monument completely inside its own boundary. The landscaping followed. Then the new HOA president called me. His name was Robert Ellis. He apologized for the citations, the police call, and the way association funds had been used. Then he asked whether we could finally create a written maintenance arrangement for the portion of road residents regularly used. I smiled. 6 years earlier, the HOA had refused exactly that conversation. Now we had one. We agreed to split certain maintenance costs based on use. Everything documented. Everything signed. No assumptions. No invented control. Then Robert asked whether the HOA could install one final sign. This time, he asked first. I agreed. A week later, a crew installed it beside the road. Private road. Resident access easement honored. Simple. Accurate. Nobody lost access. Residents still drove to the county highway. Delivery vans still came and went. Kids still rode bicycles through Willow Ridge. My trucks still used the road to reach my yard. The only thing that disappeared was the imaginary authority Vanessa had built around it. A month later, I saw her for the first time since she resigned. She was loading boxes into the back of her white SUV outside the clubhouse. She saw my pickup. I saw her. Neither of us waved. There was nothing left to say. She had tried fines, signs, cameras, police. She had tried to turn an easement into ownership and an HOA title into property rights. And the strange part was, I never needed some brilliant trap to beat her. I needed patience, a deed, a survey, an easement agreement, one old certified letter. and the discipline to let her keep putting her claims in writing. That is what people misunderstand about disputes like this. The loudest person can look powerful for a while. They can hold meetings, send warnings, print official-looking maps, install signs, use titles, speak with enough confidence that everybody assumes they must be right. But confidence does not move a boundary. Paperwork does. That evening, I parked near the old steel gate. The hinges still groaned when I opened it. I reached into my pocket and pulled out Harold Pierce's brass key. I had started carrying it again, not because I needed the gate locked, because I finally understood why he had given it to me. Everybody forgets who owns a road once they get used to driving on it. He had been right. Then I heard another diesel coming from the county highway. One of my dump trucks turned onto the road. Chrome caught the last orange light. Travis slowed beside me. Hisses. Same sound as the morning police lights flashed across my trucks. Different feeling. No cruiser blocked the pavement. No camera blinked from my shoulder. No HOA president stood beside a monument telling somebody else what belonged to her. Travis rolled past. Dust lifted behind the rear tires. I looked at the yellow survey pin beside the ditch. Then at the Willow Ridge Monument, now sitting completely inside its own boundary. Everything was finally where it belonged. That was when I understood what Vanessa had gotten wrong from the beginning. Authority is not a clipboard. It is not an HOA title. It is not a polished map. It is not a threatening letter. And ownership does not change because someone repeats a claim loudly enough. A boundary does not care how confident you are. The law does not care how expensive your sign looks. And paper remembers. Vanessa tried to use rules to take control of my road. In the end, her own emails, invoices, maps, notices, and meeting statements helped prove it had never been hers. Justice is not always loud. Sometimes it sounds like a diesel engine moving forward after nobody has the right to stop it.